top secret training of CIA agents in the art of astral projection. That's what we're going to be talking about this evening. My name is Jeremy Crow, and if you're new to this channel, I have been a lucid dreamer for over 40 years. I have been a practicing occultist for over 30 years, and I've considered myself a Luciferian for at least 25 years. And this evening, I'm going to be reading a document called the Analysis and Assessment of the Gateway Process. This is a document, it was a top secret document that was declassified by the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency of the United States government, that looked into the viability of utilizing what's known as the gateway experience or the gateway process. And this is a technology, you could call it, that was pioneered by the Monroe Institute specifically for the purpose of inducing an out of body experience, otherwise known as astral projection. And there was a report done on this as to how the method worked, if it worked, and if it was going to be useful for operatives within the intelligence apparatus of the United States government. Now, this is part two. If you haven't seen the first part, that's okay. We're really going to start getting into the really good stuff tonight, the really juicy bits. But if you are interested in what we've covered already, if you just go to my channel and look at past live streams, you'll see. I believe it's the most recent live stream that I did was just a couple days ago, and it was part one. And so what I'm doing here is I'm reading through the document, putting the words into layman's terms, and also commenting on it from my perspective as a seasoned occultist. So, if you know my channel, you know that I like to start my live streams with a quick divination. And usually, what I'll do is a bibliomancy using the I Ching. I'll just open, instead of doing a full reading with like yarrow sticks or coins or something, I just open it up at a random hexagram and read the oracle portion. And so we're going to do that right now. I'm using Benabel Wen's translation of the I Ching. All right, what do we have here? Hexagram 35. Advancement. All right, so this hexagram I'll show you is the fire trigram over the earth trigram. That's what forms this hexagram called advancement. And then I'm going to look at the oracle portion. I'm just going to read it to you. All right. You have stood where you are for long enough. Now is a time for advancement. May the pawn become a queen. Flames must burn, and in the wake of ashes, you are the phoenix that rises. Support those above you with loyalty. Support those below you with generosity. That is how you expand your influence. Advance like a mouse. Surmount the throne like a lion. All hail the Queen Mother. Interesting. What do you think of that? Anybody who's listening here, anybody feel resonance with that? Anybody feel that that's particularly pertinent to their life right now? Whether you're watching this live or after the fact, leave a comment in the live chat if you felt like it resonated with you personally, or in the comments if you're watching this after on your own time. I find the messages in the I Ching to be very powerful, and they never fail to resonate with me in some way. All right, no comments. So we're just going to jump right into it. Okay, so where we left off was the section where they actually get into the gateway process. So previously, he had explained some similar or related paradigms and processes, such as I believe it was hypnosis, transcendental meditation, and biofeedback. And we went through each of those. And now we're going to get into the portion where he talks about the gateway and Hemi-Sync technology. All right. Gateway and Hemi-Sync. Now that we have briefly profiled the basic mechanics of the principal techniques for altering or expanding consciousness, which share some of the objectives and or methods employed in the gateway experience, we may proceed to focus on what that technique actually involves. Fundamentally, the gateway experience is a training system designed to bring enhanced strength, focus, and coherence to the amplitude and frequency of brainwave output between the left and right hemispheres so as to alter consciousness, moving it outside the physical sphere so as to ultimately escape the restrictions of time and space. So that's quite the claim. Basically what he's saying here is that this technique or training system allows you to synchronize the left hemisphere of the brain with the right hemisphere of the brain and get the brain waves from both sides of the brain working together. That's what Hemi-Sync means, the two hemispheres in synchronization. And that creates an altered state of consciousness, which allows you to have the out of body experience. That's basically what he's saying there, otherwise known in occult circles as astral projection. The participant then gains access to the various levels of intuitive knowledge which the universe offers. So basically, he's saying that once you've entered into this altered state, then you have access to knowledge that you may not have been able to necessarily come to through purely rational means. What differentiates the gateway experience from forms of meditation is its use of the Hemi-Sync technique, which is defined in a monograph by Monroe Institute trainer Melissa Yager as a state of consciousness defined when the EEG patterns of both hemispheres are simultaneously equal in amplitude and frequency. So amplitude is just the strength of a waveform, and frequency is how fast it cycles. Although Hemi-Sync seems to be rather rare and of only short duration in ordinary human consciousness, Melissa Yager states that audio techniques developed by Bob Monroe can induce and sustain Hemi-Sync with the Institute's basic Focus 3 Focus 3 tapes. She also notes that Studies conducted by Elmer and Alice Green at the Menninger Foundation have shown that a subject with 20 years training in Zen meditation could consistently establish Hemi-Sync at will, sustaining it for over 15 minutes. And I should mention here that if you want to follow through, if you want to follow along with this, if you do a search for CIA gateway experience, it's usually the first result. And you'll find it right on the CIA website in the CIA reading room as a PDF download. So you can follow along. I forgot to add it in the description of the video before starting this, but I'll add it after the fact, after we're done. But you can easily search it. Okay, where is it here? So individuals who have practiced Zen meditation can achieve this naturally without the Monroe Institute Hemi-Sync Focus 3 tapes. And sustain it for 15 minutes or more. Dr. Stewart, wow, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, Twemlow, Dr. Stuart Twemlow, a psychiatrist and a research associate of the Monroe Institute, reports that in our studies of the effect of the Monroe tape system on brain waves, we have found that the tapes encourage the focusing of brain energy. It can be measured as with a light bulb in watts into a narrower and narrower frequency band. This focusing of energy is not unlike the yoga concept of one-pointedness, which we may translate in Western terms as a single-mindedness. Dr. Twemlow goes on to observe that the individual gets into the tapes beyond focus 3. There is a gradual increase in brainwave size, which is a measure of brain energy or power. Okay, so what they're claiming here is that there is an actual measurable energy that can be detected when entering into this single-mindedness, focused state of brainwave synchronization between the hemispheres of the brain. And if you are a younger person watching this, the tapes are referring to our audio tapes. So like cassette tapes that you just listen to the audio, like an yeah, like an audio track. Okay, next section, lamp versus laser. Oh, okay, this is interesting because this is an analogy that I like to use myself. But I usually say candle or incandescent light bulb. If I'm anticipating this right, it was a really long time ago that I read this initially, so I'm kind of coming at this again fresh. Melissa Yeager uses a metaphor to help clarify the process involved in the use of Hemi-Sync in the gateway experience. She points out that the human mind in its natural state may be likened to an ordinary lamp, which expends energy in the form of both heat and light, but in a chaotic, incoherent way, which diffuses its energy over a wide area of rather limited depth. So just like like I've got a candle here, the light goes everywhere. It's not going in a specific direction. It's just going outward from the source of the flame. And there's also a ton of heat that gets produced in the process of the candle burning. that sort of thing. Same idea with a standard incandescent light bulb or an ordinary lamp, especially from the time period that this report was written in the 1980s, where nowadays you have LED light bulbs which don't give off nearly as much waste heat and that sort of thing. But yeah, the idea is being that the ordinary mind in its natural state is like a candle or an incandescent light bulb that's just giving out light and waste heat in all directions in a chaotic, incoherent way. And it doesn't even penetrate all that far, really. On the other hand, the human mind under the discipline of Hemi-Sync acts after the fashion of a laser beam, which produces a disciplined stream of light. The stream of energy is projected with total coherence of both frequency and amplitude, such that the surface area of a laser beam contains billions of times the concentrated energy found in a similar surface area on the sun. I'm not. Is that true? That's an interesting. That's interesting. So they're saying that you can get even more concentrated energy um, when you point a laser beam on a specific point of a surface compared to the surface of the sun. Now, what I usually say is that when you have a laser beam, if you have it direct, it's all directed in the same direction. The frequencies are coherent, meaning that they're all going together, and that the light can be so powerful that you can burn a hole through solid objects, right? You can cut metal with a laser if it's focused and powerful enough compared to the light coming off of a lamp. It's not even close, right? But if you can get it focused and synchronized and harmonious all together, you can really do something with that compared to just an ordinary lamp. Let's see here. Gateway assumes that once the frequency and amplitude of the human brain are rendered coherent, it is possible to begin accelerating both so that the human mind is soon resonating at even higher vibrational levels. The mind can then bring itself into synchronization with more sophisticated and rarefied energy levels in the universe. So essentially, it's saying that you can tune in to higher energy fields within the universe if you can um, train your brain to be more coherent and synchronized and focused. The mind, when operating at these increasingly rarefied levels, is assumed to be capable of processing the information thus received through the same fundamental matrix by which it makes sense of ordinary physical sensory input to achieve meaning in a cognitive context. So, what they're alluding to there is that in the same way that we take in information through our physical senses and our mind filters it and detects meaningful patterns within that data, and then it renders it into a symbolic experience that we have, basically our experience of life, um, through those same circuits of the mind, we process it. So presumably what they're saying here, and I know this to be true because of my personal experience, is that when you achieve that state of being or state of mind, it's an experience. You process that information as a fully immersive first person experience, just like you have a regular experience when you're having a waking experience, like now. Similarly to when you go to sleep and have a dream, your mind is processing information and generating an experience, which is the dream, the dreaming experience. So this is also going through those same circuits of the mind that produce those experiences. So um, the out of body experience feels like a waking experience or like a dream, that sort of thing. Such meaning is usually perceived visually, yeah, see, in the form of symbols, but may also be perceived as astonishing flashes of holistic intuition, or even in the form of scenarios involving both visual and oral perception. So, again, um, it could be like a download, if you're familiar with that terminology, where you have a dump of information, or it can be through a similar process as you would have like a visual and auditory, even they don't mention it here, but physical, all the different physical senses that you have. You can experience those in a dream, and you can experience those in this altered state as well. The mechanics by which the mind exercises the consciousness function will be addressed in more detail later in this paper. This section is called Frequency Following Response. To achieve synchronization of brain hemispheres, the Hemi-Sync technique takes advantage of a phenomenon known as the frequency following response, FFR, which means that if a subject hears a sound produced at a frequency which emulates one of those associated with the operations of the human brain, the brain will try to mimic the same frequency pattern by adjusting its brainwave output. So, if you're familiar with the different brainwave states, um, there's a frequency band associated with each of these brainwave states, and those are brainwave frequencies. Like actual, if you connect an EEG to your scalp, then you can actually read these frequencies on an oscilloscope or whatever other type of the EEG machine basically can tell you what specific hertz, like the actual frequency number um, of cycles per second that your brain wave or that your brain is producing. And generally, for normal, alert, awake state, such as you are presumably in now, or you may actually be in a light trance. Oftentimes, when we watch TV or videos, we dip into a slight trance state. And that light trance state would be called the alpha state. Now, the regular alert, awake alert state would be referred to as beta, and that's a frequency band of that they refer to as beta. And then alpha is a light trance. We often enter into that alpha state when we're watching TV and when we are um, eating. When we're eating food, we enter it. We go into alpha fairly often throughout the day, and you can induce that intentionally. You can induce an alpha state intentionally through self hypnosis or certain forms of meditation. You can even just do a progressive relaxation of your body. And you can enter into a light trance. It's quite easy to enter. And then there are deeper levels of trance, such as theta and delta. So that's what they're talking about. If you encounter an auditory signal that's at one of those levels, then your brain will start trying to produce brainwave states at that same frequency. That's what the frequency following response is. So he goes on to say, to clarify, therefore, if the subject is in a fully awake state, beta, um, I added that word in, by the way, beta, what we were talking about before, but here's sound frequencies which approximate brainwave output at the theta level. The subject's brain will endeavor to alter its brainwave pattern from the normal beta to the theta level. See, then he introduced the term beta and theta in here. Okay. Oh, Bearcat Tam T. Hello. Hey, the first comment of our live stream tonight. And it's already 26 minutes in. So usually I get way more comments on here. But yeah, thanks for stopping in, Beatcat Tam T. I hope you're enjoying it. Okay. Since the theta level is associated with sleep, the subject concerned may progress from a fully awake to a sleep state, provided that he does not consciously resist, as the brain strives to entrain its wave frequency output with the one which the person hears. Wraith is here commenting too. Welcome. Oh, Seeker says today people are shy to comment. Yeah. um, so yeah, they're saying here that if you allow it, your brain will go into that altered state, that's related to the frequency that you are experiencing. And that is the frequency following response, or FFR. Um, and you could compare that to induction. So if you um, so the external frequency can induce the internal frequency. Let's move on here. Since these brainwave frequencies are outside the spectrum of sounds which can be heard in pure form by the human ear, Hemi-Sync must produce them based on another phenomenon known as the brain's capacity for deducing beat frequencies. Um, I could explain that, but I think that they're going to explain it here in the next section. So I'll just continue reading. So basically, I'll just explain that some of these frequencies that they're referring to that the brain produces are outside of the natural range of hearing for natural human ears. You can't even hear that frequency. So, like, uh, let's say 3 hertz, you can't. Most people, the vast majority of human beings, if you played a tone, a 3 hertz tone, you wouldn't be able to hear it. You wouldn't know that it's being played. It's inaudible to the human ear because we can only hear within a certain range of frequencies, and that's outside of that range. So we need to figure out a way to get the ear to hear that frequency that and they're going to explain here, and they call it a beat frequency. If the human brain is exposed to one frequency in the left ear, which is 10 hertz below another audible frequency played in the right ear, rather than hearing either of the two audible frequencies, the brain chooses to hear the difference between them, the beat frequency. So basically, if you were to listen to a 200 hertz signal a tone, a 200 hertz tone in the left ear, and a 210 hertz tone in the right ear, then you do still hear the two. I know because I've done this. There's a program, a free program that you can download on your PC called Audacity. And I've used this plenty of times to produce pure tones at very specific frequencies, and you can put them into the left or right channel on a stereo and put in headphones or, you know, um, and then listen to the specific frequency in. You can choose what ear you hear it in, and you can do multiple tracks. So you can have one frequency in one ear and one in the other. You do still hear the 200 hertz tone and the 210 hertz tone, or you hear something around there, but you also hear a 10 hertz tone, which is the beat frequency. And normally you wouldn't be able to hear 10 hertz because it's outside the range of normal hearing. But you hear this kind of a warble, like a kind of, you can hear it. And that's called the beat frequency. And actually, it's funny. A good friend of mine, Matt, he had a dance music project that he referred to as beat frequency. That was the name of his dance music project. And we had a music project together as well called Pleasure the Priestess. But, anyways, let me get back to this here. Um, The brain chooses to hear the difference between them, the beat frequency, thus availing itself of the frequency following response, or the FFR phenomenon. And using the technique of beat frequencies, the gateway system uses Hemi-Sync and other audio techniques employing the FFR phenomenon to induce a variety of frequencies which are played at a virtually subliminal, marginally audible level. So you don't even necessarily realize you're hearing it unless you're intentionally doing it. So you know, excuse me, you know to listen for it if you're producing those tones intentionally for yourself. But if you are listening to a tape, I mean, or an audio track in modern terms, but back then they were using audio cassette tapes. If you were listening to one of these tapes that was produced by the Monroe Institute, you wouldn't necessarily consciously realize you were hearing it if you weren't paying attention to that specifically. The object is to relax the left hemisphere of the brain, place the physical body in a virtual sleep state, and bring the left and right hemispheres into coherence under conditions designed to promote the production of ever higher amplitude and frequency of brainwave output. Audible and perhaps subliminal suggestions by Bob Monroe accompany the various brainwave frequencies, which are sometimes rolled in together with other sounds such as sea surf to mask the sound frequencies where desirable. So you don't have to consciously focus on that beat frequency. And sometimes it can even be detrimental to consciously focus in on those frequencies. It's more about just letting those frequencies get into your brain, you know, via the eardrum, you know, and through the processing of the through the audible circuits of the mind. Now you can actually do this through visual frequencies as well, flashing lights flashing at certain frequencies, um, and you can even combine them for light and sound devices. that make it even more um, effective, by because you're entraining the brainwave states through multiple avenues. And then they also mentioned Bob Monroe would put um, audible and sometimes even subliminal suggestions in those audio tracks. And these would be akin to a post hypnotic suggestion where you're able to bypass the logical function of the mind and put in a command, you could call it. They say suggestion. You could put a suggestion into the subconscious mind a lot more directly and with less resistance once you're in that state. And so he would basically have these post hypnotic suggestions in there that would help enhance the acquisition of this Hemi-Sync state. In this way, Gateway endeavors to provide the subject with the tools by which he may alter his consciousness based on his own volition over time through the repetitive use of the tapes so as to access via intuitive means new categories of information not available to ordinary consciousness. So he's saying that basically you're able to do it more effectively if you do it regularly and repeatedly. Um, occult terms, we would refer to that as a ritual, something repeated, especially rather than a ceremony, which would just be a single, could just be a single time. A ritual is something repeated over and over that you can um, train your mind. You can um, access levels of altered states and such, and the information available to you when you're able to access those altered states more effectively if you do it repeatedly over a period of time. Okay, we get into the next section here. Now, actually, before we move on, I wanted to mention that after this live stream, there's going to be a private members hangout online for members of the Novus Ordo Luciferi. That is um, an organization that I founded that is designed to train people in these types of techniques, such as astral projection, mental disciplines such as concentration, contemplation, self hypnosis, the use of divination tools such as the tarot and the rich symbolism of the tarot and that sort of thing, um, and manifestation magic, also known as money magic, that sort of thing. And there's a whole community of people that are learning this material, and you can access that material by going to the Patreon, the Novus Ordo Luciferi Patreon, and signing up at the $5 tier or above. And that will get you access to um, all of that training material right away. You don't have to go through levels or degrees such as you might experience in other esoteric orders or secret societies where you have to master a certain set of material before you can get access to the next, and you got to pay another fee to get to the next one, and you got to get approval from some authority figure. um, to me, that's not very Luciferian. The word Luciferian stems from, of course, the word Lucifer, which is a Latin word which means bringer of light or light bearer. And light is a symbol of knowledge and awareness. So bringing that light is to bring forth that knowledge, especially hidden and forbidden knowledge. Occult knowledge is one form of hidden knowledge um, that is taught within the Novus Ordo Luciferi. So if you want to learn this stuff for yourself, there are methods of doing that and courses. There's over 50 hours of recorded video courses and written material that you get access to if you join just at the $5 level, $5 per month. But let's get back to this. Roles of resonance. However, brain coherence through entrainment to beat frequencies introduced via stereo headphones is only part of the reason why the gateway system works. It is also designed to achieve the physical quietude characteristic of deep transcendental meditative states, which brings about a complete alteration of the fundamental resonance pattern associated with the sound frequencies produced by the body. Okay. That's actually getting into that's quite a mouthful. And I just checked the time actually, and I'm supposed to be starting that private meeting for the NOL members now, basically. So we've been going, I didn't realize we've been going for 40 minutes already. But I'm going to have to wrap this up here. But let me just read the next line here, just to give you a taste of what we're getting into, because we're going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep doing more sessions until we get through this whole document. Yoga, Zen, or transcendental meditation, if practiced long enough, will produce a change in the sound frequency with which the human heart resonates throughout the entire body. According to Bentov, this change in resonance results from elimination of what the medical profession calls the bifurcation echo, so that the sound of the heartbeat can move synchronously up and down the circulatory system in harmonious resonance approximately 7 times a second. So that's 7 hertz. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that. And we're going to continue this in a future session. We're going to do a part 3 and as many parts as it takes to get through this fascinating document from the 80s of the CIA investigating the process of achieving this astral projection state and how they could try and use it for intelligence purposes. And we know that they ended up creating a program called Project Stargate, and it had an initial budget of $2 million, which isn't really all that much, to be honest. But yeah, already gonna end. That was fast. It feels fast, but we've been doing this for about 45 minutes. So, and I have the private meeting for members. But if you want to continue this discussion, you can always join the order. You can join the Patreon. And the most recent Patreon post has the meeting link in it that will unlock if you join at the $5 per month level or above. And then you can hop in on the meeting. Actually, let me post the link in the live chat here, so that if anybody does want to join the meeting tonight, then they have the link right now. Put that in the chat right now here. Okay, so that's the link to the Patreon. If you join at the $5 per month level or above, then you're going to unlock the most recent post, which will have the link to the private meeting tonight, and we can continue this discussion. Or we can talk about whatever you want, any other esoteric, or it doesn't even have to be esoteric. It's a casual hangout tonight for members only, and we can chat about whatever you like. And we're gonna be going for at least an hour. Usually we end up going for a couple hours, where members can just kind of chat and talk about whatever they want. And sometimes we have formal lessons that we record, and then that gets added to the archive of lessons that are available to anybody who does join. And like I said, we already have like 50 hours, 50 hours worth of formal lessons that we've recorded that you get access to if you join that Patreon. And that includes, like I said, lucid dreaming, astral projection. You get material on how to do mental disciplines such as the intense focused concentration, contemplation, which accesses the more intuitive side of the mind, self hypnosis, which allows you to enter into light and deep trance, that sort of thing. All those training materials are available to people who join at just at the $5 per month. It's incredible value, as well as you get access to these casual hangouts and future formal lessons that we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing a ton of them, so we're going to keep doing these. And if you want to be informed of when a new live stream is going to come out, you could subscribe to this channel, and I would, encourage that. And you can click the notification bell. But I do find that some people say that even if they do that, sometimes they don't get the notification. I would still do it, but also if you go to that Patreon link and you become a free follower, you don't even have to pay anything, just become a free follower of the Patreon, then you'll get emails letting you know when a live stream is upcoming. And so then you really can get that notification and you won't miss these live streams. And we're going to be doing, um, like I said, we're going to continue going through this document. Um, and we're going to do other topics. We're going to talk about simulation theory, um, spirit communication. There's we're going to go more in depth on communication with non-human intelligences, that sort of thing. All sorts of topics you might want to be interested in. So yeah, join the Patreon, even become a free follower of it, and you'll get those email notifications so that you won't miss any upcoming live streams. And on that note, I'm going to wrap this up, and we're going to have the private members meeting for the NOL. And like I said, if you want to jump in on that, go to the Patreon and join at the $5 per month tier or above, and it'll unlock the most recent post, which has the meeting link in it. And I will see you there in just a few minutes. And until next time, everyone, stay lucid.